Hello, welcome to Drunk Drawing with me, Tat Franklin. Tat Franklin. Tat Franklin. Welcome to Drunk Drawing with me, Tat Franklin. First word is drunk. Today I thought it's a little gray, it's a little rainy out. Why not have a little bit of sunshine in our life? I did the Tat Franklin Tequila Sunrise right here. It's just 2 shots of tequila, half an orange, some grenadine, and then a splash of soda. It is so good, especially on a cold day when you just want to feel warm inside. You know, it kind of like makes you feel like you're out in the desert. Maybe you're on a horse. Maybe there's some music softly playing in the background, a tumbleweed going by. You're just alone with your thoughts, maybe about the love that you lost years ago, maybe about the loves that you will have. Speaking of the desert, I've been getting a lot of requests for a rose. People want to see how I attack it, how I do the structure of a rose. I have no idea how I usually do it, so we're going to learn at the same time. I'm going to draw a rose, walk you through the steps that I'm doing, and let's see what happens. Roses are red. Rose. By any other name. We're going to see the world through rose-colored glasses. Let's draw a fucking rose. So, we're going to start the same way I start all of my shit. We're going to find where we want the rose to live on this space. First, let's find where we want the rose to live. I'm going to find our basic composition, where we want it to take up the space. We don't want to start somewhere in a corner or just with the center of the rose and then it'd be way off center. I want to dive in and make sure I know where I want it to live. Here's the reference for you guys. So you guys can draw along with me if you want. Or, just watch, drink, make a drink, put it on in the background. Don't watch. I don't give a fuck. So, I have a big oval here. The way the rose is kind of designed is there's when you watch an actual flower bloom, there's the center and all the petals come out from there. This is sort of a 3/4 angle, so the actual center is going to be down here. But I'm going to start from the middle and spiral my way out, I think. So I'm just going to lightly find this middle. I'm going to make a circle appear here around where I'm starting. Whoop, kind of rotation of it. Like I said, just lightly. And everything spirals in the same direction, so just keep that going. How do I draw a rose? So I'm starting here just with some light, sketchy structural lines. If I was working with pencil, I'd be going super light. I have this pink Sharpie, and then I'm going to go back with black and clean it all up. But these are just guidelines for me to follow. Guidelines, like social distancing guidelines. Just guidelines. Obviously, you don't really have to follow them, and they probably don't matter anyway. But, they're out there. I'm just kidding. Obviously, be fucking safe. So I'm kind of finding the structure of these petals. I will add in some contour lines later. And, as per usual, I just want to get the semblance of the rose. I want it to feel like the rose. But I'm not concerned about, exactly matching this image. That doesn't have any importance to me. Especially when you want it to be individual. You don't... What I'm going for is just essence. Feeling of rose, so that when people look at it, they say, "Oh my God, that's a rose." Something that I've always been told, especially when drawing from life, is draw what you see, not what you know. You might think you know what a rose looks like, but then it's going to look like a 4-year-old drew it. So just follow what you're looking at. Maybe next week I'll do an eye and we'll do the same thing. I'm using the reference of these little petals. I know that this outer petal follows along that line roughly. Use reference points, create reference points, push things, move things. Nothing has to be as it is. My least favorite saying in all of the English language is, "It is what it is." I don't believe that for one fucking second. And in like a minute, I have basic structure of my rose. Now that looks like a fucking mess. So I'm going to take a drink of sunshine. And now I'm going to make some decisive moves. So I'm going to start back at the center. And now if there's a place that's a shadow, like almost black or something, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of like give that a little love. So the edges of the petals are lighter than anywhere that it goes in to the flower. So what I'm going to do is draw around the edges. Sometimes it's about drawing between what you're trying to get. So instead of making a line for the outer edges of the petals, I'm just going to draw in between it. And because of that, it'll appear to be a highlight. Everything goes back to the center point. Everyone in quarantine, anyone stop and think about how they keep comparing it to the 1918 Spanish flu, which, you know, was World War I. We had like cars and planes, but there doesn't seem to be like a set system in place for this happening. It's fascinating. So I'm just having fun right now, and I'm just finding and cleaning up the edges of all of these petals here. So use the reference again of what you have going on. If this petal is against this petal at this point, then they must make this shape. Always using the objects within your reference material as reference points. And if you don't like the initial shape of something, right now as you're going back with the black, this is the time. Did you guys know that the word quarantine comes from the 1300s when they used to make sailors wait for 40 days to get on the land from a voyage because they were aware even then that social distancing worked. So still just cleaning up shapes, finding big shapes, bigger shapes beget smaller shapes. I love the little ruffles at the end of a rose petal. Ah, that's nice. Cool. So I found the basic outlines of all of my shapes. I'm going to do two things now. Since I'm working with pen, even if I was doing a smaller ink drawing, I would do hatching for my shading. I don't think I've expressly talked about hatching. Hatching is just going to be straight lines going away. If you do cross hatching, it's just crossing those lines away to get a darker appearance of a shadow. I'm going to do that. Then contour lines, which I've talked about over and over and over. I'm actually going to get a fresher Sharpie with a little better tip. So first, I'm going to just force some shapes like I'm sculpting. You're always sculpting with the drawing. You want it to move in and out of space. So some of these petals coming over and around. The reference, boink, has a ton of great veins, so you just sort of follow those shapes. I'm not going to overdo it. I'm not going for hyper-realism here. Just the basic idea. Sometimes I like to make the shape with my hand before I even execute. Warming up the hand for the motion I'm trying to get. It's all coming from the same spot. It's all going back in towards the center. All right, now I'm going to go anywhere these crevasses go in. I want it to be darker. I want the petals lighter. I want the actual body going internal to be darker. So I'm going to hatch this shit. I'm looking to separate our petals from our body. I said that and in my head I immediately went, when soul meets body, which I don't even like that song, so. Crosshatch this bad boy. And you want to utilize the hatching. It can also follow the shape of the flower. Use it as a structural element in addition to shading. Just going to keep doing some hatching and following along. Just anywhere you want the shading to go. Look at the reference. Where is it dark? Where's it light? How does the light move? This sort of has, it looks like pretty much downward light on it. So the petals themselves are casting the shadow. A lot of times people will make the center of a rose lighter, but almost always the center of a rose is the darkest part because it's all internal and darker there. So I'm going in anywhere it basically meets against something, goes into another layer. If it's behind an object, I'm just going to go ahead and give it just a little shading. These outer petals are pretty bright, so I'm not even going to really do too much on them. Just sort of emphasize where a petal overlaps another petal. Anytime I want it to be darker, I'll crosshatch. If you notice when I'm hatching, it's easier to pull towards yourself every time. So instead of trying to force an unclean line, I'll move my hand to where I'm almost always making the mark towards me. It's exactly as if I were tattooing. It's easier to pull a line than it is to push a line. It's probably the best advice of this whole video today. Cool, so I'm pretty happy with that. Since I'm a tattoo artist, I can't resist but snap a big ass outline around it. So let's see what this does to the whole piece. Oh yeah. I'm even going to hatch away from my outline. Just help separate it out from the background. Cool, so it's always healthy to walk away from the drawing, take a step back, take a look at it. Take a step back, take a look at it. When you're all up in a drawing, sometimes it's too hard to get your head out of it. Walk away, take a step back, look at it again. You know what? It's not too bad. So hey, let me know what you guys want to do. If you want to draw along more stuff with me, if there's fundamentals, if there's more structural things, anything you guys want to know, email me, contact@tatfranklin.com. You can message me, you see me on Instagram, anything at all. Just let me know. Cheers, y'all.